So now that Coraline has returned to the real world for the second time, how will that compare to the other world and the magic of the other garden and the jumping mouse circus? Hey guys, I'm Megan, this is the Fangirl, and we are still working our way through the wonders of Coraline. Before we jump into today's interesting scene though, let me give a little love to the comment section. Channel member Buster Animations left a great post, but I only have time to cover snippets of it, so pause to read. They mentioned a detail that I completely overlooked. Other Wybie has plain black gloves, while real Wybie has skeleton finger gloves. It is a small detail, but it definitely has a few potential meanings. First, bones are considered pretty macabre, so other Wybie having solid, plain gloves makes him less creepy. He has less personality, so that gives him less to make himself offensive to Coraline. And it really plays into this subtle bias that other Wybie is much more clean cut and thereby better than real Wybie. Second, we have the foresight to know that other Wybie is made of sawdust, and that means he does not have real bones, so it might not be a coincidence that his gloves are missing a reference to being more human-like. Buster Animations also pondered on the moon phases being part of the timer that we see later in the movie, and that's a really interesting way to look at it. And I'm not sure if that suggests that time is moving forward or backward, but the moon being used as a unit of time is definitely happening again and again. Then, and I'm so sorry, I'm definitely going to say this wrong, Linnea Winther 3383 suggested that the other father's need to feed might be related to the material he's made out of. You know, because the beldam basically acts like the fairy godmother in Cinderella, and she makes things out of other things. So Wybie is made out of sawdust, she's made out of metal and bones, and the other father comes from a pumpkin. So being a transmutated plant might cause the other father to want food, whereas metal and sand don't have any needs in that department. Good thoughts, guys. Now on to today's scene. Coraline just went to bed in the other world and woke up in her real bedroom again. And I can't say this enough, but I don't think she actually teleports home. I think the beldam changes the environment around Coraline and maybe moves her to a different place in the other world, but if you need a tunnel to get in, you can't just teleport back. The real world is supposed to be outside of the beldam's influence. Anyways, again, time is kind of being used in an iffy way here, because Coraline essentially falls asleep and wakes up seconds later as soon as she's in her real room. And as Coraline stretches awake, she notices the flaws in the ceiling and walls, and she immediately makes a frustrated groan, all while the button-eyed doll is watching her from the chair. I find it interesting too that the other mother wants Coraline to fade back to the real world and get frustrated, because that gives the other mother a reason to talk about the button eyes and how Coraline needs them so that she stays anchored in the other world. Now, there is no further explanation as to why the buttons work like that, but sometimes any logic is all an 11-year-old kid needs. Like, oh, to stay here I have to put buttons in my eyes. Oh, sure, that makes sense. Kind of like how Hades gives Persephone the pomegranate seeds, and eating those means she has to be with Hades 6 months out of the year, even though seeds don't really work that way, so it's whatever, we're just going with it. Any excuse is enough of an excuse. But we get a mouse-level camera angle by the door, and Coraline jumps out of bed to investigate the floor. They don't spell it out for us, but she's looking for the cheese that she placed there last night, and it's gone. So Coraline darts down the stairs to the small door, only to find out that it's locked. I mean, my girl, it doesn't look like a complicated lock. I think you could pick it with a butter knife. But at least for the moment, it's enough to halt Coraline. And she seems to get pretty mad and shoots an angered look to her left. loft, which is where the kitchen and presumably her parents would be. But we don't get any payoff for that look because we abruptly switch views to a cityscape of Ashland, Oregon, where Mel, Charlie, and Coraline are in the VW Beetle pulling up to a large building marked Garden Life, with an I Heart Mulch written below that, and that's the same logo from Mel's coffee cup at the beginning of the movie. We also see a Shakespeare Festival banner gently blowing in the breeze, and yes, Ashland, Oregon is famous for this event, and according to the websites that I can find, the earliest shows they have start in mid-March. And we know it has to be close to that time because Charlie can't walk inside of Garden Life without passing two strange-looking Shakespearean actors, one of which has a prop falcon on his arm, and I never noticed how fake it looked before. It's made out of paper. But as the Jones family parks, Coraline is rattling off all of the things that she saw in the other world last night, and she really sounds more excited and less upset at this point. But Charlie and Mel aren't listening. Charlie is having a small meltdown and acting a bit cowardly that Mel doesn't want to go inside to talk to the bosses about this catalog that they've been working on. She wants Charlie to handle it by himself. And Mel is telling Charlie not to worry because they're gonna love the chapters that she wrote, which, not that a catalog doesn't require work, but is it really that stressful that they need their own writing team to develop it? I get that any catalog might have some interviews or articles in there, but if Charlie is mainly listing out different kinds of seeds and shovels for sale, then what does he really need to write about that isn't already listed on the item's packaging? And why would there be chapters for a catalog? Or for that matter, why would the editor be writing those chapters? Does catalog have another meaning that I'm not aware of? Because I'm just envisioning a shopping catalog like Toys R Us used to send out. It's a weird detail here that doesn't make a lot of sense. We can also see on the binder that they're working on the spring catalog, which, when you factor in print times, you usually want that done early in the winter so that these catalogs can be ready and available to clients as soon as you are switching over to the spring merchandise. I realize that having worked in journalism and publishing, I'm looking at this way too hard, but these are deliberate details that stack up and don't make any tangible sense right now. However, as Charlie exits the car, Mel takes a moment to prove that she's absorbing some of Coraline's words. Mel clarifies that she never called Bobinski crazy, she called him a drunk. So, in contrast to the other father saying how everything is great in the other world, here's Mel telling Coraline how grimy reality is. And Charlie directly acknowledges Coraline before he leaves, saying he'll see her around and calling her a dizzy dreamer while he pulls on her nose. And that irritates Coraline, and she protests that she's not 5 anymore, and so that kind of an interaction would not be fun for her. Again, here's a supposedly real parent missing the mark and not calibrating themselves to what Coraline needs. Then, as Charlie waves goodbye and the ladies drive away, he reacts to the Shakespearean performers with this disgusted shock. Ugh! Like, my good sir, what reality are you living in that you didn't notice these people who were standing right in front of your car when you got out? How do you lack that much situational awareness? Although, while the taller man with the fake falcon is great, the shorter fellow has a strange instrument that looks like a lute and a horn got meshed together. Is that real? It's also not clear if the performers are trying to raise awareness about the festival, or if this is like Ashland's local troubadour team peddling for pocket change. They definitely add a lot of flavor to an otherwise bland scene, though. And again, this is a touch that has no explanation, no kind of payoff. It just exists to enrich the world building in this film. We can also now see a window sign outside of Garden Life that says, winter sale now, which Garden Life sells gardening, furniture, and tools. And through the windows, we can see fountains and birdhouses and garden structures. So yeah, winter is probably not a big seller of a month for them. All of their goods seem to be related to being outdoors. And between that winter sale sign and the Shakespeare Festival actors running around, that would mean it has to be mid-March right now. But that's really strange because in the next shot, we're gonna see that it's around President's Day, which for the non-Americans watching, that is always set as the third Monday in February. So weird. But we're gonna call this scene here because I think the Mel Coraline scene has a lot to cover, and I don't want to have to cram it all in here and cut things for time's sake. But what do you think about our first and really only glimpse of the big city of Ashland, Oregon? Let me know in the comments. I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. And to any of my members here on YouTube, a huge bottom of my heart thank you for all of your help and support. If you would like to become a paid channel member, there is a link in the description below. Thanks again, guys. Love you. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey, McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.